tonight. We go have a fine time all night tonight, all night tonight, all night tonight. We go have a fine time all night tonight, all night tomorrow night. Let me go. Sip, the sip, the sip. 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 Let me go, man. Sip, the sip, the sip. Sip, the sip, the sip. Sip, the sip, the sip. Nation. Nation, away your nation, nation, away your there. Nation, away your nation, nation, away your there. Nation, away your nation, nation, away your there. Nation, away your nation, nation, away your.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me clearly? You can just show a thumbs up. We're about to begin this public meeting. Of course, you know, we would have started this session about 2 months back, and we intend to continue to update the public as to what is happening. Specifically this time, as we are headed for local government elections, we would like to, of course, update you with all that has been happening. On the live here with me today, we have former regional chairman, Mr. Sharma Solomon, and the constituency candidate for Bamia Amelia's ward. We also have the current deputy mayor of Linden, Mr. Wainwright Bethune, who will deliver remarks shortly. While we're going to go through this process, of course, we'll update you on our manifesto as well. There are some things that we wish to counter as well. Some of the disinformation that is being peddled in the public domain on NCN and on the radio. We are going to, of course, field questions at the end of the exercise. And of course, I will speak to how the RDC and the municipality has been starved of resources, how the region is being targeted and the town is being targeted strategically and intentionally, how there is no consultation, our people are being denied access to basic things, and of course, we will speak to our campaign, the work that we have been doing, and update you on any other questions that you may have. I want to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Sharma Solomon, who will also moderate from this point on and field questions to Deputy Mayor, etc. And then, of course, we will flow into the other aspects of the program as we proceed. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Adams. Blessings to all, and thank you for being in our company on our update program. And I'm so anxious to speak about NCN, but you can appreciate that we are using this medium to engage you as ever so often as we can, and we hope to do so more frequent moving forward as we move towards June 12th, local government elections. It is very important for us to appreciate what is available to the campaign of the APNU in Linden and Kukwani by extension. In general, those tongue, the tongue of Linden and the NDC of Kukwani. And just to say not only the challenges, but to also to update you on how our campaign so far is progressing and what more we intend to do to ensure that come June 12th, that those candidates in the constituencies and the PR slate is going to receive as much votes that will allow us to have remain in control of the municipality so as to ensure that we give principally proper, right, and the most appropriate representation that the people of Linden and Kukwani so deserve. So before I do that, however, in giving you where the campaign is, I know of recent The way we have structured this campaign have caused not only the candidates who we recognize are unable and incapable on the PPP side to respond to what we are saying. What we are saying are national in essence, and have brought the government directly in response to the things that we have been saying, because they're not only local in how they are affecting people, but because of their incompetence in how they were handled nationally, they are affecting local people, such as the Bamia Primary School, as we have pointed out, and several other such matters. But before we get to that, I'll ask the Deputy Mayor, Mr. Wainwright Bethune, as we are coming out of the last statutory of the last council, to give an update on those matters, but more so some issues that were brought out coming directly from the government and the government ministers, to address them so that persons in the public can have a better understanding of what some of those claims are. So at this moment, I'll invite Mr. Bethune, and then I'll take back to give you an update of the campaign and to outline where we are in terms of moving forward to June 12th. Thank you very much, Mr. Bethune.
Thank you very much, Mr. Solomon, and good afternoon, colleagues on the panel.
Volume is low, Mr. Bethune.
Are you hearing me better now? Are you hearing me better now?
Not too well. I think your speaker is your microphone should, yes, use the phone.
All right, is there a better reception now?
We're not hearing.
I don't know, so my phone is, the volume is up. Hello?
What you may have to do is join back so that the sound could be.
Let me go off and come on back.
Okay, so they're saying that they can hear it. So why are we not hearing?
Good. So some are saying they can hear you, Mr. Bethune. We'll try our best so you can proceed. It appears as though you're okay. So proceed. Sorry about that. Good.
All right. So again, thank you for having me here with the members of this panel and the members of the Linden public, the country, and the diaspora for this engagement as it relates to the local government election and basically some of the functions and issues that we have at the council. So I would first say that based upon what I'm seeing and hearing now in the general public and based upon the campaign that we're having or the campaigns that I'm listening to, I would, in my opinion, I think that the local government system is under threat since the rhetoric that we're hearing seems more of central government control rather than addressing the core issues that affect local governance in this country. If I should step back a little bit, in 1980, Desmond Hite would have stated that this is coming from an extract, reorganizing the local government system in Guyana. And basically what was mentioned is that the local government system has attracted widespread criticisms. Councillors and others who administer or closely associated with the system has complained about its inadequacies and problems. I went back there to state that given some of the complaints that people are hearing now and some of the criticisms that the councillors are incompetent, the local government system in this country, unless we address the core issues, it will never be resolved. Unless the council and the councillors and the administration, they are empowered to first earn the revenues and work those revenues back in the local democratic organ that they're responsible for, we can never see the true reflection of the council being responsible for the municipal functions. All right. part of this document would have also stated that they're not seeing the effectiveness on the local government system. There must be a great measure to decentralize and the devolution of our authority and decision making. Meaning basically the persons who people elect within these local government systems, there must be a process of consultation and to help in the decision making. Now, if we are seeing a lot of promises and a lot of stuff, basically what are central government responsibilities? And if the central government are saying to us that unless they have a foothold in the council, then most of the things they're mentioning or that was out and was outlined on the manifesto, these are basically central government responsibility, repairs to roads, drainage, and whatever. I think the local government system is heading into the wrong direction. More specifically to the issues that you ask about, in the council, I think in the public domain, it was stated that the council could not have spent more than 20% of their 2022 subvention. Firstly, the first tranche of that subvention was received in June. What preceded that was in 2021, there was a contract that was issued to a young man. That contract to date is still in dispute. It was a suspicion of this council. And when I say council, I mean both administration and policymakers, that contract attracted the contract was given to a person, while that person in name, it was our suspicion that part of the contract was owned by administrator of the RDC and the MNTC. And so we had our suspicions. We also know that ever since we were the council and what preceded us, the council had its own tender board. All contracts for our subvention now was directed to go to the RDC. So the monies are going to the RDC and we have to, of course, submit our contracts and then the tender board would work through the RDC, which is a position that we were very uncomfortable with and what proceeded in 2021. So we decided that, okay, we're going to go back to our tender board. That took months of back and forth with the council and the RDC. And of course, we want to be very responsible in the dissemination of our contract. Mind you, ever since this council, or I'm at that council from 2016 to date, there is no issue with subvention and how it's being spent. So if we see that your problems are potential problems, then we need to guard against that. Nevertheless, in August of 2022, the information was submitted to the Office of the Town Clerk of how the contract should be done. And so there were many issues. So the fact that it's being stated in the public domain now that this contract is, and that the money is not spent, is not that the council is being irresponsible, is that the council sees some loopholes and some red flags of things that are happening which we are not uncomfortable with. And if we're going to spend the people's taxpayers' money, it must be done in a transparent and proper manner, thus reflecting some level of effectiveness in the public. And that's why with the back and forth with the tender board. And mind you, based upon our investigation, it was revealed that Linden is the only municipality that doesn't have its own tender board and is asked to submit the contracts to the RDC so that the tender board could deal with it. So that was one of the delay. We are also being bashed about garbage collection in the township. Look, from 2016 to date, this council would have acquired 4 tractors, 3 garbage trucks, 2 minibuses, and pickup, 1 rubber tire backhoe, and a bobcat. At the last statutory, I would have asked the question, we bought a new minibus so that because we realize that the constabulary is very limited in terms of monitoring the different location and there's a lack of transportation. So we made representation that that bus must come to help in the transportation. That bus started working from the 22nd of October of 2022. To date, that bus has accumulated 17,849 kilometers without being serviced. I mention this to let the general public know that all the vehicles that I have called before, and we saw that some mentioned that the garbage trucks are parked and whatever, because these vehicles, which is an administrative function to service, they're not serviced. And yes, we understand the council might not have money to service these vehicles. So we organized with the LTI, the Linden Technical Institute, since we know they got young, vibrant mechanics and people who are learning there. At least once per month, these vehicles must go there to service. And this is since 2017. To date, another administrative function, the MOU was only signed maybe about a month or 6 weeks ago. So I'm saying all this to say, look, the council would have taken a responsible position in identifying these problems and finding viable solutions. But understand, when you are blaming the council is a composition of the mayor and councillors and the administration, which is the town clerk and the other administrative employees, who carries out the day-to-day function and execute the policies or the recommendations of the council. If there's lack of capacity to manage, then this would be a reflection. If there is no consequences to how people work or manage and they are being protected by the local government commission or political operatives, whoever they be, then this put the municipal system in a more doom. So when people hold a position to, and I would say to, of course, yes, there are councillors that didn't step up to the plate, and some of them are lazy, because I'm not going to talk about the administration and don't talk about the councillors. But if you take a holistic look at the council since they're there, the recommendations put forward, the policy that was made, if these things were enacted, of course, there would have been a different reflection of what's happening. And as it relates to the garbage collection, we knew when it came down to one tractor, you had 2 crews. So we said to the administration again, you started working 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, you can have, while you get 2 crews, let some of them keep coming about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the other set come to 5 o'clock in the morning. So while you might have one piece of equipment that is operational, the extent of the hours that that equipment is operating could be extended with 2 different crews, so you optimize the collection of garbage and disposal. Look, if this country continue to have incompetence in various offices that should reflect how the general public should receive effective service, then we can always end this blame game. And so as we go into local government election, it's okay for persons to identify what they think. But if you're going to call somebody incompetent, call it from a position what you know. A lot of people are just talking and don't even understand the challenges of councils. The municipalities across this country, as I asked the question, if you can tell me the success story about any municipality or MDC in this country, then I will be more than willing to sit and listen, because the municipal system is broken, where the revenues that you're supposed to collect, and you budget only on the revenues that's supposed to be collected. And if your budget is a fractional part of your operational cost, don't tell me that you can be effective. If the government should sit, because as a government, you are responsible to governing all 83,000 square miles of this country. And there's supposed to be some level of respect of the local organs. And so when we finish campaigning, if we respect those who are at the different levels of governance and have conversations for national development, then we can see it going in a direction it's supposed to go. Not at a campaign, you're telling the people what you're supposed to do. And based upon this manifesto that was produced by the government and more so the PPP, I can tell you out of the 16 bullet points, the council is actively involved in 15. But if you're there for 3 years and ignore the letters, the requests that are being made to have conversation, to have effective development, to understand the problems that the council is being faced with, then it's a position of gross irresponsibility. And only when now you were saying at this point you want to put people who you feel because they probably identify under the same umbrella and under the same color and think that that would be effective, it could be a very big disaster. All right. So I can go on with this topic by topic, but I will pause now and hold for if there's any specific questions it relates to anything as it relates to that municipality. I'm willing to give the details and to show what the municipality, the position that they've established, the problems that we're having, and some of the solutions that we could have. And I would also be willing to establish some of the same manifesto that the PPP would have produced to show that we are actively involved in all of those. So I will pause here for now.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Betune, for your contribution. I think just to recap the areas that are of concern and outlined, dealt with the general behavior of the local government system, but more so how that behavior places a burden on the council and its function and its ability to function effectively, and just how that is a widespread and pervasive issue that is a challenge across Guyana, coming from a government that would have withheld this ability for persons to exercise their right in local government for over 20+ years. In itself demonstrates why the seriousness and commitment to such a system is broken and cannot be taken seriously by the People's Progressive Party. One must understand, as outlined by the Deputy Mayor, what Linden, and not only Linden, but all municipalities and NDCs are challenged with, is notwithstanding this is a unitary state and we have a central government. The issue of self-determination by citizens, by residents, to have a say in fundamentally Article 30 of that right to be part of the decision-making process at every level is being denied by this PPP's government, by the PPP government. That here it is, you have elected officials who, instead of being given the resources, not only by the state in their subvention, but given the opportunity to govern on their own to ensure that people get the representation of issues in their communities resolved. So this is what you have that continues to impede those things. And we made mention of them. Whether we spoke about them at the Bamia Primary School, the Mackenzie Sports Club, at the Retrieve ground, whether we spoke of them of infrastructural issues. And we've clearly outlined, not only in Region 10, but specifically as we look at local government in Linden and Kukwani, there is absolutely no single project in 3 years. Instead of central government focusing on its job to ensure that central government, where they are needed to make their input, is very effective, they intend to give local government a challenge to do its job. And that is why we ask, show us What are the transformational projects? In 3 years, with all of this spending you have done, and with all that is available in our treasury, in Linden, that you have done, the deputy mayor is making this point quite clear, that no one can show where they have done that. No one can show where they have given that sort of scope of tangible of what the government have done. No one. And I think that is where our case is. Show us where the tangible is. So I'll ask at this time for Comrade Adams to come back in and to give a regional understanding of the challenges, not only in Linden, but in general, how, because of that poor planning and lack of involvement in stakeholder appreciation, where we continue to see those challenges further affecting the people of Linden and Region 10. Thank you very much, Comrade Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. And I want the general public to know, and you know, we were going to be just frank. If the PPP wanted to transform Linden, they had 26 years to do it. And so you should not be fooled by the promises that they will throw at you now. The RDC, like the municipality, we are seeing a case here for the past 3 years where the central government continues to practice what we refer to as domination and control. The budget, for example, it flows from the consultations we would have had with our people on the ground in the various constituencies. So if you visit an area and they say that this is what they want, a bridge, the upgrading of the electrical system in schools, I can show you where the council prepared reports for the upgrading of the electrical systems in all of the schools across Linden. That has been ignored. I hope it will receive some attention now based on what has happened over the past couple of days. And so, as was indicated earlier, the government of the day has never shown its intent or its willingness to work with the local government institution as is stipulated in law. In the case of the municipality, 2801. And this is evident by several things that we were able to document, right? One, they muzzle and starve local government organs of the necessary resources. I can say to you now that the subvention that the municipality is currently spending, that ceiling, the 18 million, is what they would have received under the APNUAFC. So for 3 years, despite the inflation that has occurred in the country, despite the budget tripling in this country, billions, the funding that the local government body has received for the past 3 years remains at $18 million, which was instituted by the coalition government. And so we have also seen cases where the government blocks the council's access to the means of acquiring legitimate financing through, for example, rates and taxes. As it is right now, the council survives on only 25% of residents paying rates and tax. In fact, in Retrieve, where I live, the rates and tax for the entire year, I think it's $1,080. And so I know, because I served at the municipal level, that we made recommendations for these ceilings to be increased so that the council can sustain itself. That rate of 25% was last set since 1976. And so communities that were developed after that period, the new housing schemes, like Amelia's Ward, Phase 2, 3, they are not within the tax net. But it is expected, and residents expect, that the services that the council offer, that they, by right, would want to benefit from it. You would have seen a video that was posted where there are about 6 garbage trucks that were left at the back of the council when they just required minor repairs on a monthly basis or so. The deputy just would have mentioned that one vehicle has over 100 and something thousand miles on it, but has never been serviced because the administration of the day has failed. Maybe it is a calculated attempt to damage and to have all of the assets acquired under the APNU government to deteriorate. We have seen what has happened to the David G buses. We have seen what has happened to the tractors and the minibuses. So maybe, just maybe, it is a well-orchestrated plot to starve and to ensure that the people, your elected officials, are blamed. Now I want to shift quickly to the manifesto that has been put out and just highlight some points that quickly jumped out at us when we read it. Now in the PPP's manifesto, they speak about roads and drains. Ladies and gentlemen, in October of 2020, this is the policy document, resolution of the council. This is what it states: that the Regional Democratic Council is committed to provide the highest quality of development infrastructure to the residents of Linden and Region 10. The geographical composition of soil in the hilly sand and clay region, that is the description accorded to Region 10, has been demonstrated to not be compatible in the construction of DBST or chip seal. Many of you remember that before the APNU got into power, many of the roads in Block 22 and Amelia's Ward were chip seal. The APNU invested in an asphalt plant and we started to upgrade and deliver roads that could withstand the test of time. That roads that were built between 2015 and 2020 are still standing strong. But a road that was built, or they attempted to build at Wisma Street, deteriorated in 24 hours. And you can go to West Watuka Farm Road, you will see the same thing, Carcara Retrieve. The roads have already started to deteriorate. And so the policy went on to say that there are demonstrated examples of roads constructed before concrete drains are installed being eroded almost immediately after construction and lasting less than a tenth of their expected lifetime. And so this policy spoke to, one, that before we proceed to build roads, they must be fitted with drains in this hilly sand and clay region. We're seeing here a road constructed in Amelia's Ward, for example, no drains. And so what will happen is that you will now have a case where erosion occurs and water will affect residents. Even when we attempt, or they attempt to follow our policy, the works are given to cronies and friends of the government. And if you notice here in Silvertongue, it resulted in the entire drainage structure collapsing during the rainy season. This is what happens when you give work to friends, families, and favorites. So the council, the RDC, would have moved the policy recognizing that both Amelia's Ward and Wisrock, unlike what happened under the PNC in the 60s, communities were equipped with all of the relevant or necessary infrastructure. This government has deviated from that. An APNU council, once elected, would apply the necessary pressure to ensure that we return and that we are supported at the RDC, even at the municipal level, to ensure that these sensible policies are acted upon. At number 2 in the government's manifesto, so that spoke to the roads and sidewalks and all kind of fancy things in their manifesto. At number 2, they said that they will dredge the mouth of the Carcara Creek so that the residents of Old Carcara, Spikeland, Rainbow City, they will alleviate flooding. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2021, June 2021, we wrote the Minister of Agriculture under the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority program. indicating the need for the dredging of the Karkara Creek. If you notice here in Spikeland under the APNU, we constructed a bridge so that farmers could access their farmlands, and there was an alternate route for them to get to and from the community. But here in the minutes of the NDIA,
recording in progress.
I want to make it clear that under the Region 10's report, listen to what it says. There was continued requests for NDIA office in Region 10. So we made representation for an office to be set up at Spikeland. 2 years after, construction can be started as yet. I express gratitude for the documents of the engineer that was sent to the region. In 2021, the dredging of the Karkara Creek was requested. It was expected that the creek would be given the same level of attention as other regions. Now, we made a submission for the dredging of the Karkara Creek, which is now in the PPP's manifesto. They totally disregarded that request, but went ahead and honored a submission that was made by Region 2, the Pomeroon area. And they would have allocated $200 and something million, despite that request came after Region 10's request for the dredging of the Karkara Creek. But now, seeks to look for a PR stunt to say that one of their mandate in their manifesto is to dredge the mouth of the Karkara Creek. And so I say to them, as the deputy mayor said, out of the 16 items in the manifesto, 15 are already active at the council. All you need to do is to activate what the policy that was given. We saw that under the APNU, the central government handed power, the commission, to local organs. This government has since revoked all the powers that were given by the then commission. They would have revoked all the powers. And you know what they have given the municipality the power to do? I think is hire security guard and some other thing. Our taxes, ladies and gentlemen, important, was used to fund a one-day photo op, the one-day cleanup campaign, where ministers disguise and they come up here as though they are interested in sustainable and best practices as it relates to the environment. Numerous trucks and pickups, heavy-duty pickups, miraculously, they found it and they used as props before disappearing at the end of the day. So they are only interested in one-day PR stuff. Rather than providing the municipality with one truck, just one, or maybe two, one for Mackenzie and one for Wismore, and maybe a grader to do sustainable work around the township. Those requests have been denied. Under the AP and UAFC tenure, however, representation was made, and we were able to get several of those trucks from donations from BOSAI and other organizations who came on board. And to answer why, or to ask why those trucks are not being maintained, it's just to make your elected officials look bad. At the RDC here, we made representation as to why a new RDC building should continue. The building was started in 2018. There were some issues. COVID came. The contractor had his little issue, and the project had its challenges. The same challenges that is happening right now at the Bamia Primary School that has received over 100 million and they can't complete the fourth floor. But the contractor continues to receive contracts in housing, which I understand were taken away from them. The RDC building has lost structural integrity. And so we wrote asking for monies to be made available. One asks the question, how does any caring government who is asking the people of Linden to elect them treat the people in this manner who are under their direct employ? And so young people who are listening, understand that many of you who were at the Bertram Collins College of the Public Service. They closed that, sent home all the staff, 184 that were trained. That was a program that would have seen young people being groomed and, in a career that would have benefited all of Linden. They closed it down. They sent home the St. John's Ambulance Brigade staff. And many of you know of the other challenges. Attempted to take over the Darfur home that the coalition government refurbished and attempted to turn it into a COVID-19 facility. And the people of Retrieve stood up to them. And of course, the senior citizens were able to get back their home. However, they have left that facility to deteriorate and has not provided any funding simply because senior citizens would have asked. We say that the APNU-led council will make representation at the international level to our partners in the diaspora and the ABC countries who we have been working with. When we asked for funding for persons with disability and they rejected it, we reached out and we partnered with the US Embassy and we ran a program off with Save Guyana. When we asked for assistance for mental health program and they rejected the funding, we reached out to the US Embassy and they came on board and we ran our programs. And so we have signed and we have established the Regional Economic Advancement Partnership, of which we will extend the hand of cooperation to an APNU-led council to ensure that all that we are being denied, that we will, of course, through representation, just like the organizations that are coming on board to help Westburg School in the Home Economics Department, we will not sit idly by and allow this government to proceed with targeting our region, which they have been doing strategically and intentionally.
Thank you very much, Comrade Adams. I think in just the issues brought out are very telling of just what the government of Guyana in terms of its treatment to Linden and Region 10. And based on the representation that is absolutely necessary, not only from the RDC, but from a strong municipal council to ensure that people in this community not only get representation, but those things that they deserve. I will at this moment ask for one of those candidates that we have on our list, the PR list, Mr. Dominique Blair, to give you an idea of just what sort of representation we intend to bring. And then before we wrap up, I too will give you an idea as to where we are in the campaign and what sort of strategies we intend to employ to ensure that we bring success, not only as a party and the people, but just a victory against what this People's Progressive Party is doing, which is to promote a one-party domination in this state. So, Mr. Blair, thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, I'm the PR candidate for Constituency 3. Part of our vision for thriving for progressive community encompass 3 key areas. Firstly, we aim to consolidate the existing municipal twinning program, partner with LGE. Through these collaborations, we will foster the exchange of information, best practices, and build strong partnership by learning from successful experiences worldwide. We can enhance our town's development strategies, improve service delivery, and create a prosperous community. Secondly, we recognize the untapped economic and tourism potential of the Demerara Riverfront. Our APNU Council is committed to its transformation, focused on development of vibrant spaces for recreational activities and the construction of a municipal mall. This initiative will attract investment, stimulate economic growth, and enhance the overall appeal of our town by capitalizing the opportunities offered by the Demerara. We can create a dynamic environment that benefits residents, businesses, and visitors. Thirdly, we will prioritize modernizing our administrative processes by establishing electronic payment options and digitizing the council records. We will advocate for the implementation of convenient and efficient electronic payment methods, including mobile money gateways for services provided by the Linden Town Council. Additionally, digitizing the council records will streamline administrative processes and ensure easy access to vital information. These measures will improve convenience, transparency, and accountability within the council. These initiatives reflect our commitment to creating a vibrant, sustainable, and inclusive community by consolidating programs, developing the demographic front, and modernizing administrative processes. We can unlock the full potential of our town. We invite your support, active participation in realizing these goals. Together, let us work together. A brighter future where strong partnership, economic growth, enhanced recreational spaces, and efficient administrative service from the foundation of our success. APNU kindly requests your valuable vote in the upcoming local government election. Together, we can create a vibrant, thriving community that we can all be proud to call home. Please feel free to contact anyone if you have any question, concern, or suggestion. APNU is here to listen, collaborate with you to bring about positive change. Together, let us shape the future of our beloved town. Thank you, Mr. Salmon. Over to you. I think that's his handful for now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blair. And I believe that it is indeed what we captured in our manifesto. We will certainly be distributing it. And we hope persons who are on this Zoom meeting would have had an opportunity to look at it and where necessary to feed questions on them. I think you had an opportunity to appreciate where Comrade Adams took the time to go through the PPP's manifesto. And as the Deputy Mayor also outlined, most of those initiatives are either in the works. I know I've looked at many of the council meeting live stream, so I don't know how that is on the PPP manifesto as a novel thing, and it is actually happening. And I know we looked at what Comrade Adams spoke about, some of the initiatives that were advanced by the APNU and what was denied by the PPP so far, including a fire station. There is actually a document that exists where land and all the necessary amenities have been given and are available. And we know that WISMA at this moment is without a very active ability to put out any major fires. And those are the sort of things we hear after the fact. As we are hearing, even unfortunately, with those 20 young people, 20 young souls who perish by fire in Mahdia. And our thoughts and prayers are with our brothers and sisters in Mahdia and the people of Region 8. But it's important to note when those things are made as prior requests, that those things are not listened to. And they're not listened to because you have a government that is prepared not to involve stakeholders in the decision-making process, as outlined in Article 30, where we have people engaged in the decisions that will impact their lives. So what you see many times are very disjointed policies that are coming from the PPP's government. And you see it, for example, we look at housing. We talk about the 1,000-plot house lots in Amelia's ward, Millie's hideout, that should have never even been thought about, but went ahead with full construction in place, and millions in the hundreds had to be wasted because this is a government prepared not to put in place, for example, an initiative that while we were there in 2013 should have ensured that the land selection committee was in place, that allow a more stakeholder understanding from NISIL to RDC to forestry to lands and survey to housing, everyone, municipality included, to sit down to appreciate how lands are going to be distributed and for the purpose that they were going to be distributed. No, this government went single-handedly and utilized Black 37 richest bauxite deposits in Guyana. We had only recently an international forum touting how rich that deposit is. No less than Ravi Dev was speaking about it in Suriname. And this said government, without no consultation, went ahead to start to construct 1,000 house lots, knowing that that should not have been done if they had proper consultation. That is the sort of planning that is going on in Linden Region 10. And then you have the claims when that is not satisfying, that you cannot and will not take glory for housing development. You went and you tried to claim Amelia's Ward until you were checked about it. Check that you are not preparing communities in our town in line with our historical understanding that even though they're in hilly and sand location, they must have the basic infrastructure, such as drainage. So you said you created Amelia's Ward. Amelia's Ward is with full infrastructure from as far as Town Square to as far as Brazina scheme. And now you have those new schemes being developed without a single piece of additional infrastructure to support the road network. You have no infrastructure facility that accommodates recreational support for one of the largest constituencies in Guyana, maybe and perhaps the largest in the Caribbean. You had recently the Chinese who gave to this community money for a recreational facility. And instead of it being used for that purpose to ensure Amelia's Ward or any other community that is without is given that opportunity, instead, friends and families of the government went ahead to hijack the Mackenzie Sports Club and to put such funds instead. So Amelia's Ward, 10,000 residents. To date, you're without an adequate recreational facility. But we believe all these efforts are done to reduce this community to behave in what we call the looking for it culture. And I'm very encouraged that no less than one of the architects of the campaign of the PPP accepted that they want us to be part of this looking for it culture. Why not? This is what the gentleman said. Why not be a part of this looking for it culture? It is that sort of behavior of accepting this dish out, this drip drop behavior. And I'll come to that drip drop because we're going to see it next week when we have the cash grant. And we know strategically why it has been moved from July to June. This is the culture, to say to people that you will only receive just enough to get you along to the next day without appreciating that Guyana is awash with wealth. That Guyana is, in the own words of the People's Progressive Parties and the Vice President and international reports such as the IMF, that Guyana is moving with 60% growth rate, highest GDP in the world, but yet still 50% of its people live in abject poverty, and a state where they are unacceptable in terms of how they should see decent life and live. That is our state. So we are saying in why would you say to people, look for it, when it's right there in our GDP, it's right there in our treasury, it is right there in all the reports of the world. That is what you have to appreciate. So when you see the government is being very concerned that an individual such as yours truly is going to be in local government election. This is local government elections. I am a Lindener, 43 years old, birthed in Mackenzie at the Mackenzie Hospital. This is what the government is saying to people of Linden about Sharma Saleh, that he should not be in local government. People are coming all the way from out of our community to say this to a Lindener. A Lindener. I am supposed to be engaging fellow Lindeners in a competition of healthy debate as to why they should support my candidacy and party's candidacy and not theirs. Here comes the government ministers, because they recognize the issues that we are addressing, goes to the core of the behavior of this People's Progressive Party and its oppressive policies and marginalization of this community. And I believe it has attracted their interests. But that interest have turned personal, so Sharma should not be. And what is that claim? Because I will bring destruction to this community. But let me address that. It is this People's Progressive Party under Ramatar's government, for which many of those ministers sat in the government, including Minister Edger, that brought death and destruction to our community. And though it is accepted by some of their architects of the campaign in Linden that some decision was made and we were to accept that decision, I want to show how poorly those individuals are in their judgment of representation of our people. Because our constitution is sacrosanct. It is more supreme than any individual or any parliament or state. Our constitution speaks on what direction all those organs must and should take. It is supreme. It says that people must be a part of the decision-making process. It is on that principle that we in Linden and we in the community through leadership recognize that notwithstanding whatever decisions were made, people must be a part of the decision-making process that impact their life, so outlined in Article 13 of our Constitution. It was a fundamental struggle for that, which included elements such as our right to access information. And that is why the TV station was placed on that agenda. So we did not bring destruction to this community. It was those who were in the Ramatar government and the People's Progressive Party who were bent on denying us the opportunity of our rights to be part of the decision-making process, to have access to the decisions such as our land selection, and to also have access to information unimpeded and uninterrupted as outlined in our Constitution, so that we have access to information. That is what we were objecting against. And those individuals brought destruction and death to our community, which took the lives of Shemrai, Ran, and Alan, and have left families for decades on suffering. It is those individuals that this Commission of Inquiry report said that it was the police force on the day of the 18th were the only people shooting. It was those people who the Commission of Report said that the police battalion came up with extra forces, which included snipers at a peaceful protest action. It was those people who brought death and destruction, not Sharma Solomon, not the people of Linden, not those people who got the permission for peaceful protests, not those fellow Guyanese who, like Guyanese at Wim, Quarantine Coast, and many other locations, who went out to protest. But unlike those locations, never set fire to police cars or police buildings. But snipers came out on us. And those are the people who are now labeling us as the people to bring death and destruction. I ask you, Linden and Guyana, to think carefully and choose wisely about the people who have lorded over us for 26 years and how they intend to do so. I ask you, people of Guyana, to think carefully and wisely. When we saw Linden last year struggling with bulldozers, taking houses apart, and then we saw it in Moko, and only recently we've seen it on the Linden-Suslike Highway. I ask you people to choose wisely as you see the behavior of this government when 20 of our souls have perished and the behavior of sympathy and empathy was absent only for photograph and the exhibition of excitement. We are still burying bodies. The president attempted to look good yesterday by calling out the public, the private sector. But the private sector could not have behaved as lawless as they did if they weren't encouraged and given tax support. This is what we are faced with in terms of representation in our community. You look at the Bamia school, you ask those parents, ask those indigenous people in Bamia and around the Bamia school. It is a general treatment of how we see a certain class of people in our country, that they're unable to send their children to school come August, a few months from now, but will have to continue to find a heavy bill to pay for them to go miles away from school, which is to deny them either an education or a proper meal. This is the representation we are speaking about. When we look at the budget, Comrade Adams spoke about the agriculture issue and drainage. And you look at Linden, no transformational initiative to ensure that agriculture and food security is part of the priority of this government. Yet still they tout the Burnham progress of the Upper Berbice River Agriculture Initiative. They're growing soya there right now, but have not expanded agriculture in any significant way that people can produce food for food security in areas such as West Watuka, that is with 6,000 acres of farmland and just about 1,000 acres being utilized. That is what you have to be careful when you vote for in terms of representation. You have to look. Your money is going to be given to you just out of an election excitement. And we know the issue of cost to live in. In Guyana, 2/3 of households live in debt. It means somebody owes courts, you probably. Now, if that's the case, and you're looking at those very unfortunate people at the grassroots level, you can be assured that they have debt. And I can assure you when that cash grant is going to be paid, some of spending money, not only because it's given out to consideration of your children's education, but because somebody wants to make an election point. And we made this point at the beginning of our campaign, that it is the first time you will see oil and politics, and specifically oil and an election, and it is being manifested. And we call this the week of penetration, where the PPP is going to spend billions of our money. We see them started to activate the CDCs, even though we are out of May, and CDCs should have been doing their work since the beginning of May in anticipation of the May-June. Now you're going to see those groups of people, armies in red t-shirts, so as to say that the People's Progressive Party is giving us monies and putting it on our pocket, as if that is the only thing that we can do to improve and develop people's life. That is what we are talking about in the Looking for It culture. So we appreciate the fact that the government understands that this campaign was one that is undeniable, that they have to be involved and have to come to address the issues that we have outlined, making it absolutely no match for the candidates that they have involved in this local government. But we too believe that this is local government elections, and that is the reason you need to have proper, right, local representation to ensure that they advance, notwithstanding this behavior of the government, your issues, and to represent them well. We are doing this in the challenge, in the backdrop of not having access to information, one of your most fundamental rights. This was no staged situation with people putting tape over their mouths. Your candidates represent your will. And if they are unable to speak, it means it's a denial of your will to either hear from them or to even speak with them. And that is what the issue of NCN represents. It represents your tax dollar that is not being spent to give you adequate and equal access to the things that are mattering to you. So NCN and 104.3, which is a mouthpiece of the state and has been acquired by friends and families of those in government, is saying to the APNU campaign in Linden that we have no access. We cannot speak to you. So we must see those entities as denying you your fundamental right to have access to information. But NCN is a separate matter from your right to have access to more television stations and more airwaves so that you can have more understanding of how to access this information. So I say to you, Linden, we're going to put this back on the agenda because your rights are being denied. So we hear all those who are saying what should be on the agenda. These are the things we intend to represent and represent your rights and your interests on. And I thank you this afternoon. We are going to open up for some questions. And those who are on the feed, be respectful, show by raise of hands, and direct your question. We'll try to take about 2 at a time and respond to them based on who they are directed to. Thank you very much.
Come on, guys. We know that persons always have burning issue. I noticed Theodore Adams is on the live. This is the opportunity. You will not be able to see or hear Sharma Solomon or Darren Adams on NCN or even 104.3. And so it is important that you utilize this opportunity to ask questions. I know we have delivered a lot during the presentation, but I know there must be pressing issues that persons may want to ask. Let me just say that we have reached out and we have asked and we have said that we are prepared to debate any candidate. Our candidates are prepared to debate. On our slate, we would have gotten validation from the people in our lineup. We have an engineer who is going to be serving on the council in the person of Russia Strott. We have a lecturer at LTI there, a teacher, and several other candidates. Of course, our experienced comrade Sharma Solomon and Vanessa Kisoon will be there as well on the ballot, constituency 1 and 2. And so we want to ask you to ensure that the flyers and the manifesto is shared across the length and breadth of the tongue in all 8 constituencies, because of course, unfortunately, we are not able to disseminate that content on NCN or 104.3. So please ask your questions and we will try our best to respond to them.
Comrade Simon, thank you. Winston Smith here. Can anyone hear me?
Go ahead.
I'd like to basically ask 2 questions to the Deputy Mayor, mostly because the Deputy Mayor was mostly speaking about what is the condition in the council dealing with local issues directly that affecting us in the city, in the town of Linden. 1, what was preventing the council, because I heard the Deputy Mayor say from 2016 he was in, what was preventing the council from fire the town clerk in serious discipline for not executing the policy of the council? That's my first question. My second question has to do, what will it, and this may be deal with the candidates also, what will be different? Because the government will remain the government after June 12th. So what will change in this attitude that could really bring development to the community of Linden? We know exactly what's going to basically happen after June the 12th. On the 13th, the 14th, 15th, come beyond. We know what's going to happen. What strategy do you have to actually, the resident of Linden in local constituencies that we are all represented could look forward to real development? What strategy do you have to doing that? I hear Comrade Adams talk about trying to seek aid from USA or the diaspora in terms of helping to reach out, but that will not do for the day-to-day operation running if you don't have an effective administrator. So what will be different directly? Thank you for now.
Thank you very much for the questions, Mr. Smith. If dealing with the very first question as it relates to the town clerk, in 2017, when the no confidence motion was brought to the then town clerk, Ms. Bowen, the current town clerk, Ms. Obamola, was thrown into a position, and we recognized that one, she didn't get the experience, and so the job was beyond her capacity. We said to the operatives, the local government commission at the then time, look, we would like to employ somebody who has administrative experience, maybe on a contractual basis for maybe six months to a year, and have that person work along with Ms. Obamola, and to say to us as a council, okay, we think that she is ready or not, given how fast she's grasping to the work. I think, you see, one of the things that happened, I think a lot of people in different offices doesn't listen to council and councillors. And so the commission at the time went totally against that advice, and they decided to confirm her. I was one of the person who stood and said that if we are gonna bring a little confidence in Ms. Bowen, who in my opinion at the time, I think had a lot of knowledge, and to promote somebody who with less knowledge about how the council and administration function, I am not in support of that. But nevertheless, it went ahead, and Ms. Ovamola was confirmed. Without any experience. With the current local government commission again, the mayor and councillors, and if anybody here continue to see the discussion when we have the council statutory meeting streamline live about the volume of issues, administrative issues that we have, the level of incompetence and everything that is established at those meetings. We would have documented all of these complaints and send them again to the local government commission to see some of the irregularities, some things that are happening that the council did not sanction. And again, we see that there is some amount of protection. And I would always say, in my opinion, the local government commission is politically compromised. So those decisions that are being made is not within the best interest of the council, but the best interest of the person who are instructing them. All right? That, and I would have said clearly in all meetings that we had. The local government commission, based upon the stance that they're taking, could bring not only these municipalities, but municipalities across this country in disrepute. And so even don't listen to the Linden municipality again alone. Listen to the Georgetown municipality, some of the NDCs, and the plethora of issues that they're having with the local government commission. Basically, most of the classes that are enshrined in the 2001 of the functions of the local government commission, in my opinion, is usurping the authority of the council. And so that is, as I said, restricting the firing. And not only the firing of the town clerk, any employee that sits on the council, and that is why the whole council is being brought in disrepute now, Mr. Smith, that we have issues where employees are being, there's issue of sexual harassment. There are fights when one employee would have pulled a knife on another employee. And we are saying to the local government commission, because of all these industrial matters, there are simple steps that you take. These employees, once there's an infringement, they're supposed to be suspended pending investigation. Now you have to write and ask the local government commission if you must suspend. And so tomorrow, you and I can have a fight today where weapons can be drawn, and tomorrow those same persons appearing on the plant. And so those are some of the issues that we're having with the local government commission. But I could go a lot in depth with that. So that's it relates to the issues of preventing of firing the town clerk, because we would have advanced this position, not from this council only. The council from 2016 to 2018 would have been very vocal about the inefficiencies of the performance of the administration, which is headed by the town clerk. All right, and most persons, if they want to be honest, they would voice the same thing and echo the same sentiments. The second part of your question, you said what we can look forward for and how we can see development. Look, there is no one party or one person that could develop this township of Linden more so than this country. What has to happen is that people, governments, we have to be very respectful of the people's position. If the people of Linden feel that this composition of persons, the elect to represent them, then the conversation of representation at both levels, at central and municipal levels, we have to get conversation about how we go and develop the place. Not we have ministers coming into the township and doing as they feel without any consultation with the local leaders, because we probably from not the same political affiliation. Red nor green, red alone cannot develop this country. Green alone cannot develop the country. Is the ideas that both parties we have, we can see how those ideas can be merged and work with political maturity to ensure that the reflection of the works that we do benefits the people. Because if we isolate red or green and we don't want to have some kind of consensus among ourselves of how we can help people, then the only person that suffers there is the persons that fall in between this whole political system. So unless this country reached a stage where there's political maturity, where we have respect for the offices, we don't have to like each other, but just respect, and we follow simple policy and what is enshrined in the Constitution, then we can develop. But if you want to have total dominance and you don't want another party to look good and all of these political immaturities, then we could never move ahead. Because all of the ideas for development, it doesn't sit with who wears green, or it doesn't sit with who wears red. It's a compilation of ideas that would make this country develop. And unless each and every person that is being elected to political office start having respect for the people's position, for those who elect, then we're going to move forward. The government is already the government. The issues that is affecting local governance, if we take a careful look and a responsible look of how we could empower local governance, then this system could change. If you take a position where you want a party to look good, then of course you're going to do things for a party to look good. From 2021 to now, this current council would have reached out to the government several times with a lot of these things that are listed on the manifesto to say to them, look, this is how we can do it. You're talking about housing. If you go and check the national newspapers, Stabrook News, the Guyana Times, and the other newspapers, you would have seen this council would have taken a position where we recognize that squatting is causing a lot of problem, compromising bauxite reserves. And so we reach out to Lands and Survey, Central Housing Planning, NISIL, and to say to them, you need interagency collaboration to stop squatting, because I feel the government has failed the people, and a government in the broadest sense I'm saying here, because you can't be a young man or a young woman come out from school at 18, 19, and you apply for a house lot and you're taking 10, 15 years before you get it. So we would have proposed some solution. I'm talking, check the 30th of July with reference to those newspapers at the position that this council took to stop squatting. So even though we might not have the resources to simply service to give some of the municipal service, there are other ideas that we have that we were willing to put forward to have discussions. It's only to have people in a room making responsible decisions. But if these things are totally ignored, if waste management is totally ignored, if the council's position based upon the ideas that they have, they're totally ignored, and you don't want an engagement with me, or I send correspondences to you stating that I'd like to have a meeting with you and there is no response, how can we develop? So the thing is not the council is not taking a responsible position or identify the issues. We know that. But if the powers that be, where budgetary allocations could be made to alleviate some of these problems, if they are not discussed, but only wait for a moment like now where there's local government election, say, look, this is what we're going to do and this is where we're not going to do, then it just speaks volume of how we're willing to govern this country. All right? And I could go back just to talk about what the level of responsibility. Mr. Solomon would have spoken about this Black 37 thing. Look, people don't understand how deep it is. Because if you read again, and this is what we ask the general public to read and be informed of how decisions are being made. It was established when there was an investor from Brazil in 2021 interested in bauxite deposits in Guyana, where the government stated that the reserve in this country is 468 million tons, and that is value $1 billion US. And to identify, to come to Linden, where it's a bauxite township, and you see for several years, there is no activity at certain locations. Questions have to be asked, consultations have to be made, and so to say, look, this is why it didn't happen. You cannot come to a bauxite township and to do development without consulting with people. So it's gross irresponsibility. Now you have a resurgence of interest in bauxite, where the current East Montgomery mines, which the life of the bauxite industry, the bauxite mine, is about 50 years. That could be reduced significantly to about 15 years. So the demand has increased. So now if that Black 37 would have continued, and I'm just trying to give information here. If that continue, it would have compromised the entire thing. The thing to the government knew that Black 37 deposit, given the life of it, it could make the resuscitation of the alumina plant. Because if you're planning, and you say you're bringing gas for shore energy, you're doing the Amelda fast, and you know it's going to reduce the cost for power. And something like the alumina plant, which is viable to the economic development of Linden, you are going to compromise the raw material, the resource. Look, it's gross irresponsibility. And to top it off, again, 2 months ago or 6 weeks ago, we had to go again and stop another ministry from doing a tourism park. So if one ministry gets it wrong, how that mistake is duplicated again? So there is need for collaboration. There's need for consultation. One party cannot run this country. You need people that have knowledge of this township. You need people you need a variety of information and ideas that could really build a community, a township, and a country. It cannot happen on one side.
Thanks very much, Mr. Bethune. And I know, Mr. Smith, I hope that you got some, especially the very first part of your question, the challenges that the municipality faced for so many years and what they have done. But I just wanted to add quickly to just what is to bring into context that very first part, and to quickly, Winston, to give you a little up, because we want to get at least a couple more questions in. So we remember in 2015 when the coalition government came in and really decentralized local government, starting to ensure that we have more tongues, capital tongues in many of the regions, which included tongues such as Leyte, Bartik, and Madi, and others. It was important when you saw those things. They were more giving out more power to local authorities through the commission and things like that. And at that time, the local government ministry had given the commission so as to give the councils the opportunity to hire the town clerk, not only to hire, but to make recommendations, in fact, to hire the town clerk, assistant deputy town clerk, the treasurer, finance officer, the city engineer, legal officer, medical officer, solid waste director, clerk of works, superintendent of works, supervisor of buildings inspection, public relation officer, general foreman, officer in charge of the constabulary, human resource officer, clerk of market, health inspector, public health officer. Now, all of these labels, all of these titles, as of last year, the Minister of Local Government have revoked every one of these recommendations, and they go directly to him because they have no commission in place. So directly, it is the local government minister who is now hiring all of these staff, and have left only three hires for the municipality. And if that way you put it, which would be such as laborers and security personnel. That is what this government is reducing local government to, and its management. Now, in the history of local government, which promotes self-determination of a people in their community, and as I said earlier, notwithstanding this being a unitary state, it is important for us to appreciate. Now, how do we move forward, Mr. Smith is asking, in terms of representation? We move forward by the will of the people. If the people choose their government or their leadership of their choice, then it matters not what the government thinks of them. They have to fulfill their obligation and their mandate, which is to provide those very basic services, such as ensuring you have your subvention. But proper representation is going to do one very important thing that leads to many more. It is to keep people organized. It is to keep them mobilized so that things that are affecting them, they can take the necessary action to ensure they get the results that they deserve. This is not a local to Linden. This is local government in general in Guyana. Every local democratic organ, as the deputy mayor just mentioned, complains of the same thing: absolute and total domination from central government. So this is not a Linden restricted issue. This is how do we ensure that on behalf of our people who seek self-determination through identifying their local representation, that we can ensure that the system of local government recognize that much more must be done to have those people given the type of support services and the things that will improve their lives. Have nothing to do with politics, but everything to do with the people and their recommendations. And I believe that is where fundamentally our representation on this matter comes in. Because there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee of who you vote will get to the support, except those persons you vote, you are assured you can hold them accountable to get what you need. And that is what we are offering, that you can hold us accountable, that you can see in us the opportunity that you can have us take your issues if they're not being properly represented. And that we are saying is what the PPP's candidate will be unable to do in terms of representing your interests. So it's not a matter of how much more we can advance. We know the challenges. We know what are there to be advanced. But what we are saying is the representation to get them. And with one party domination and one government domination, and with the current performance of the government, no group of people coming on behalf of the People's Progressive Party will be able to ensure people have representation to at least, even if it's to get the government attention, much less to get anything from the government that they deserve. And we are saying to the people of Linden, this is why you need to have strong, proper representation, not only that can advance or in fact represent your interests and those things that are affecting you, but to advance your cause and those things that you would like to see. So I believe in answering your question, Mr. Smith, fundamentally that is what we intend to bring as a strategy. Proper, right, and adequate representation, because we know the challenges that exist that's outlined by Comrade Bechu. And we're not going to put a facade over people to say we're going to do roads, and that's not the task of the council. The task of central government is to do that. We will hold central government accountable to do those roads, as we have done today. Since we have started to make this art of nice, Casarini Drive is being done. It's not just out of political gimmick. Since we have started to make nice, the night after the Karakara meeting, the Karakara Creek is being dredged. Since we have started to make nice, the field at Mackenzie High School started back. Since we have started to make nice, and Brother Hamid took out the photograph at Spiteland, at Christianburg, and at West Matuka, of when the president last came to Linden in December, those are his failed promises still lying on the ground. They're going to commit to them because representation is there to say that the incompetence of the administration in representing people is very evident. And it is because we are speaking about it and outlining things like the Bamia High Primary School, and outlining things like the Mackenzie Sports Club, and outlining things like the Bayrock Community Center, that they must not take credit for what is not theirs, that we have put this government in reverse gear, and they have to come back with a manifesto of plans, because they were making the claims they have done, and we've identified they have done nothing. And now they're coming with plans of what they will do, such as the Mackenzie-Wismar Bridge, a bridge that was feasibility study done, budgeted for, and already designed to be constructed, taken off agenda for plans, where you now have an MOU for a new bridge and not a contract. These are the things we want to bring in terms of representation to people. And I believe our strategy, as I've already started, in terms of how we mobilize our people during this campaign season, and how we keep them mobilized to continue to ensure we have those things that are being promised, and beyond that, the things that we need in this community.
Just to add, you hear me? Just to add to Comrade Bertrand and Comrade Solomon, and I could add, I mean, Comrade Solomon could attest to this. We are prepared to use the tool that we have at our hands, the 2801 and the Constitution, to our disposal, each inch of it. The other candidates are preparing to work with it. They're working with it, they're reading it, they're studying it. We're all in training, so we could know exactly what is needed to be done as councillors and as representative of this town. So I know, just want to add that to, you know, my little intake. Over back to you, Mr. Salmon.
Thank you very much, Dominique. And I believe that is indeed the icing on the representation of the matter. We started by saying that fundamentally we believe the Constitution is sacrosanct, and where the government continues to breach this, as Comrade Bechun outlined, not ensuring local government gets what it deserves. And Comrade Blair just mentioned about 2801, and all of those constitutional violations we spoke about earlier, about people's right to decision making, to be part of decision making, in fact, and our right to have access to adequate and proper information. So I think that in line is what we are saying brings the APNU campaign of representing Linden and Region 10, and by extension Fukwani, our sister NDC, is what we intend to do, to ensure that in line with what is provided for us constitutionally, those acts and laws, that we take those as our tools and represent our people and represent them well. Any other questions do we have?
If I may just, okay, I think I saw somebody mic clip off. Go ahead, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I had my hand raised for a while, but I guess the moderator did not notice it. So sorry to chime in.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry
you so
about
much
that, Mr. Allen, I didn't recognize.
Yeah. I just want to commend, you know, each and everyone for the work you're doing. Mr. Solomon, I must say that I've been following what's going on, and I think you've really ignited or reignited some energy in our base. I like what you're doing. I'm happy to see my friend on board and a couple of guys, and I appreciate what you're doing. One thing we need to address, I believe, is the disconnect with the people. You put it over quite eloquently and quite rightly, Sharma. Yeah, several of the things you put over, but in this day and age where you have a government with a behavior that we're seeing today, I somewhat differ from what Deputy Mayor Comrade Bethune was saying. I somewhat differ. You have to still stand up, even though you have to work with. In fact, it's in our law, it's enshrined in our laws that central government must work with regional government, must work with municipal governments. So it's there, it's part of the laws, right? However, you will have these differences in government who will try to win over. And as you know, the thrust right now of the PPP is to win over the people of Linden at all costs. So you will have those differences, but this is where you have to stand your ground, but not in the name of we have to work with everyone, right? Once there's policies and there's certain programs, yes, you must work with, but I think our attitude right now is to let the people see the difference. I'm sorry. Alexa, stop. Someone stop Alexa for me, please. Sorry. Alexa is talking. I called somewhere close to her name. Yeah. So I do believe that we still have to stand our grounds. The regional chairman knows as well. I called him from the time the PPP stepped in and started to affect the nurses and to fire the young people. I think I called first, and he knows it directly, for a stronger stance to be made to stop the continuation or the expansion of their actions. We had a dispute over that. So these are things that we must take a stand for the people. There are things like the bridge. We need to be out there speaking about this. That bridge should have been done. In fact, not only the bridge, the highway was announced as well. The study, I can tell you about the highway because I announced it, along with the then Minister of Public Works. I forgot his name. You know, not his Public Works. You know the Minister Patterson. Minister Patterson, sorry.
Public infrastructure.
Public infrastructure, yes. Sorry, I forgot the name. But these are things we should be talking about and have it out there, right? Not only around the election time, but people must know that you're fighting for them, and people must know about the issues that you have at hand. That they must know through the media, you must continue to raise these issues. And two, at this moment, I think our focus should be to let people know a lot of persons do not be betrayed. Do not be betrayed by promises, because we know the track record is there. It speaks for itself. And I'm happy, Sharma, you brought up what happened in the past. I'm happy that you brought up the fact that you had to stand up for the people of Linden and take leadership. Otherwise, the town would have been trampled on. All right. Electricity, where folks from Guy Mine and others worked hard. And it was promised, not only promised in talks, but promised through documentation that electricity will be added at a reasonable cost, etc. Not only electricity, water. I can tell you because my father had one such letter. All right. So it is, I'm happy that those incidents, we could remind ourselves of those incidents and the fact that we stood up for something for the people of Linden. So at this point, I think Lindeners need to stand up. I just don't want to be long. I think Lindeners need to remind people of the past. I think some of the petty fighting needs to stop. Otherwise, we go nowhere. And I also believe that the entire local government system needs a relook, because when you look at it, and from the North American standpoint, some things we have right and some things we do not have right. So the system is there, but it's there are different parts of it. That's why we're complaining now about the local government, that commission that was in place. And I'm now learning, you said that it was disbanded and things are going through the minister right now. Now, there was one point when Minister Balkan, when the commission was not elected, when Balkan was making certain decisions. Do you remember the uproar that took place? People were very strong against it. So what's happening now? We're not hearing an uproar. We're not hearing no shout and scream that about what's going on. We're not here. We didn't hear anything much. So I think we need to be more vocal. We need to be out there and let people know what's going on, and let Lindeners feel represented through your voice. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Carwin. And let me take this time to say I'll just ask the others to wrap up quickly as we concluding. I'll ask first Mr. Adams if he would like to say anything based on what we heard from Mr. Smith and Mr. Holland. And then we'll ask those who participated, Mr. Bethune first, then Mr. Blair, then Mr. Adams to just wrap up. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Sharma. Let me just remind our viewers here that I believe, and we collectively know, that the main interests of the PPP in Linden or coming to Linden is to be in control of your assets. It's about domination and control. And we have been fighting back. Many of you saw on March Day the disinformation that was sent out, and we had to stand up to them because they wanted to take the march to a different route that was not discussed and organized in collaboration with the police. And so we have been pushing back. That is why it's important that you elect councillors who will have your best interest at heart, and not people who will just go and sit there and shake their head yes to everything. Like Obama would have said, I want to echo the sentiments here as we close, that LUSCSL is on the ballot. The co-op that is over 50 years that your grandparents worked for, that is on the ballot. That the Mackenzie Sports Club ground is on the ballot. We saw the minister come and he said that it belonged to the people. Then a couple months after, it said it was transferred to NISIL. And by time February of 2022, he was saying that it was the government's own. That is on the ballot. The waterfront along Wismar and Mackenzie is on the ballot. The Watuka Guest House is on the ballot. And so your airstrip is on the ballot. And I say to you that the only way we will be able to defend is if we have a core team in place that is able to make representation and to hold this government accountable. Our manifesto, and I encourage you to read it, speaks to the innovative measures, the transformational programs that we intend to deliver on, how we intend to connect with our people at the grassroots level and consolidate the progress that would have already been made under the coalition government, how we intend to ensure that those ideas are discussed and policies are created from them and they are executed, of course, with the strictest measures of accountability and transparency. And so I want to ask you to ensure that you elect our candidates. You will see them, their recordings will come out, and many other things that you will be able to easily identify them. We want to ensure that we consolidate the municipal twinning program that started under the APNU, so that we can partner with well-developed towns and cities internationally, fostering the exchange and sharing of information to develop best practices and build strong partnership. We also want to ensure that the emphasis are placed on serving the needs of undeserved population, including our youths, and we're going to use ICT like we did under Sandra Granger and all the other leaders in collaboration with the Board of Industrial Training to execute that. Persons with disability, vulnerable groups, and our senior citizens. So that when persons attempt to take control of our senior citizens' home, like what occurred, the attempt that was made in Retrieve at the Darfur home, your elected officials will be there to give support to our most vulnerable group. Because I believe to care for those people who once cared for us is one of the highest honors. And we can only be able to do that for them if an APNU team is in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adams.
Brett Solomon, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yes, sorry about that. So as we're about to close, sorry, I actually called on the deputy mayor, Mr. Blair. Can you wrap us up before we go, and then we'll go to the deputy mayor for closing?
I want to urge everyone, these are some serious times. The numbers are with us. I want to urge everyone, because most people take local government elections as, insignificant. I want to understand that what is before us. What is before us is clear victimization to our fellow Londoners. I want us to call everyone. We need everyone to come out and vote June 12th. This is not, most people are saying that this is an election, this is like a mediocre election. People are saying all sorts of stuff. I want to urge everyone to, even if you're abroad, to call a friend, call a family, they come out and vote June 12th. Hands down, candidate, we could attest, Mr. Solomon, Miss Vanessa Gisoon, they are tested, proven. We must not forget what happened in 2012. Our brothers were shot. We lost lives in 2012 from the same government that is here right now. I want to urge everyone to not to forget what happened. It's important for us to come out and vote June 12th, because most people be home and be like, you know what, this election is not important. I don't think we should go out and vote, and I don't think it's a PNC. No, it's very important that we come out and vote June 12th. So I urge everyone, if you got to call a friend, we accept the hotline. I think Chairman, I don't have the number. We accept the hotline if you don't know your vote. If you don't know where you have to vote, you could reach out to the hotline. If you system get into the polling station, if you even need a babysitter to get into the polling station, we have system in place for that, because this is very important. This is very important. And I want to urge everyone, this is very important. I want to say in closing, Come out June 12 again, vote UPNU, vote to the top for your candidate of the UPNU, vote to the bottom for the party, and we will represent you at the municipal level. Thank you.
Mr. Betune.
Yeah, and good, and thank you for again. So, it is my position that one of the hallmarks of a good leader is to diagnose problems or issues and find viable solutions. There is overwhelming evidence for decades that the municipal system, the local government system in this country is so broken that there have to be a collective approach to fix it, so that persons who are going out and vote and persons who want to see a true reflection of municipal responsibilities and services in their communities, that they must get it. We cannot continue in this way. Given the current atmosphere in terms of the campaign, we are heading into a dangerous direction in terms of what seems to be central government dominance. We have municipal employees who are supposed to give services currently at the Linden MNTC, who 2/3 of them or more work below the minimum wage. They cannot pay simple things like their NIS, GRA, and more so if they work 15, 20 years, there's absolutely no gratuity when they come off. If we continue to treat our basic and most important resource in this country, our human resources, as if they are not important, then while this system is broken, I'm sure it will be contagious to other systems. Our approach, and if you don't see it in a manifesto, while you have all of these things that are being painted, what is going to happen on roads and going to build, there is no conversation to improve the lives of municipal workers at Linden Mayor and Town Council, and by extension across the country. It's just because local governance earn the revenues, pay the employees, and central government do their own what they are responsible for. There is no conversation, no identification, or nothing registered on the manifesto to say that these employees' lives are going to be improved just by having them have attractive salaries. So the quality of work from municipalities could sustain the interest of professionals, technical people, and competent people, so that the general public can enjoy quality service. So we're hearing about change and give a chance and management of things. These councillors, myself, Mr. Salmon, and some of the other councillors on the municipal, on the APNU slate, we understand the system. We have diagnosed the problems and give viable solutions. If you look on the other side, most of those candidates will have to find a way, some by torchlight or something, to really find a way of how they're going to navigate through the system. And we don't have that time. And again, it's my position that for any country or any system to move forward, they are partisan issues and they are bipartisan issues. And unless you have a people that recognize this and have the level of maturity to work to improve the lives of people, we will continue along this way. In terms of representation, the representation from here is the optimal. I've been one of the loudest voices and more so making an analysis of what's going on in the council. And if anybody could look at the streaming of the meeting, the documented evidence in the statutory books, would have seen the positions that established by this council, then we would understand that we got a grip on resolutions to most of the problem. We need the key players to sit at the table. If you're so concerned to have resolutions and to improve the lives of people, respect who they elect. And we need to have those conversations to change the lives of people. All right? So come June 12th, the Linden public, we have established our position. You heard the context of our conversation, the depth of our analysis, and the understanding of the system. There is no rhetoric to say that roads are going to build, drainage are going to build, drainage are going to be done, and all of these promises. Because those promises, I can tell you, being in the municipal system, they are completely false. The municipality does not have the resources to do it. And the municipalities, the intent of municipality is to be a semi-autonomous body, meaning it does not depend on government resources. If government finding the resources, then government is doing what they are responsible for. So with this said, the general public, vote responsibly, vote for people who already got a grip on the municipal issues and can formally represent you at all levels of governance in this country to ensure that the systems and the services that require could be put in place at the shortest possible time with maximum effect. Because so come June 12th, we're asking to vote and vote responsible. We have a list of APNU candidates who have proven their competence in terms of representation for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bethune. Thank you very much, Comrade Adams, Comrade Blair, and thank you to the audience. I just want us to, as we wrap up, to understand that our campaign is on the move. The APNU, our candidates, we have set out into our fourth wave as we conclude our third wave of the campaign. And I can say every step of the way we've recognized as we move forward that we are being imitated by the People's Progressive Party, which says that we are running a very effective and efficient campaign. Our messaging is quite clear, that we encourage people not to be part of that looking for it culture. We know that people are very concerned and express issues of, or in fact, express concerns of things that occurred in the past. We've accepted that mistakes were made. That's part of the PVP's fundamental looking for it, part of the culture. But we always say that you don't shoot a man in the bed and call it a mistake. That's murder. We don't see people houses getting bulldozed left, right, and center across this country and don't recognize that poor people are being taken advantage of. You don't arrest a liar for doing her job, such as Tamika Clark, and say that you're arresting her. That's kidnapping. So we know mistakes were made, but what we see now in a society is one that is filled with lawlessness and one that is so corrupt that people who have never built even the smallest of objects are being given millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in, and they must be called to account for that. Someone must be saying that. You, the people, know that. You, the people, are affected by it. As Comrade Adams said, these are the things on the ballot that you will be voting for. Not persons who, when you call these things to bear, have no answers. The government comes up, still give no answers, but proceeds to further give you promises. And I believe those are the things that we are saying that we are best able to give you representation on, not only as candidates in our constituencies, but as a party to give you the sort of representation on issues that are affecting you nationally. So come June 12th, we're asking for your support, and we encourage your support not only for our candidates, but for the APNU, so that we can bring you proper and right representation in the municipality. Thank you very much. And may Almighty God richly bless each and every one of you.
Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holla the blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow the man. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow, blow. Holiday blow, blow. We go have a grand time all night tonight. All night tonight. All night tonight. We go have a grand time all night tonight. All night tomorrow night. We go have a fine time all night tonight.